Hi, Carrie.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Before we get started, I'd like to read the Privacy Act statement to you. Or I guess not so much Privacy Act statement, but more of a informed consent, we will call it. So this is a performance project for my class in individual counseling and psychotherapy techniques at Mid-America Christian University. I will not be doing formal counseling on you today or trying to treat you. Rather, I am simply demonstrating a set of counseling skills. If you do wish to work further on these issues, then you will need to see a qualified counselor. Ethical guidelines indicate that I cannot talk to you regarding the issues you discuss later and cannot follow up with you about or what we discuss. I will be recording this session and will send a transcript of it to my instructor. Only the instructor will read and evaluate the session. I will remove the recording after receiving a grade on the project. We have about 10 to 20 minutes to talk. Do you give me permission to record this session?
I do.
All right, perfect. I appreciate that. So, how has your week been?
It's been good so far. Been enjoying the new Taylor Swift album, and the OU Sooners are doing great softball wise. So
That stuff brings you joy?
that does bring me joy.
What do you like most about the Taylor Swift?
The new album. I love the poetry vibe of it. I love that there's 31 songs. That it was a double album. Yeah, I really like the song. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. So
What do you like about that song?
it's just really interesting of just her expressing like how hard it was to be on stage when she had been broken up with, but you know, we still got to do our jobs even when our hearts are broke. So
Yeah, so did that kind of speak to you a little bit?
I did, and yeah.
That's good. So I don't know a ton about Taylor Swift, but I do know that she's been going through some changes, and some of the stuff I hear is super interesting just from an outsider's perspective. But you're a Swiftie.
I
I've heard you
like
say
it.
that.
I think I am, but I'm not. Like when I see other Swifties, it's like they're like way above me. I'm not a part of like the Taylor Nation, but I do enjoy Taylor Swift.
That's good. Yeah. So it sounds like you had a good few things that have been exciting this week. How's everything else going?
I am struggling on my sleep schedule. My friend died about 3 weeks ago, so that's just I go in and out. Like I have good days or I have a couple of good days, and then I get reminded that I want to text her or I want to send her like just something funny, and I can't because she's not here.
Yeah. Have you ever, so you get the urge to text her, have you ever actually texted her?
Since she died?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Have you thought about writing any letters or doing anything like that?
No, I did post on her Facebook page.
Would you post if you don't mind me asking?
Just photos of us and just how, it sucks that she's not here anymore. So when we had first met, we had the same kind of past. We just had parents that didn't care, that did drugs more than they took care of us, and we vowed to, break the narrative. And she died doing drugs, and so that's pretty heartbreaking.
How'd you, is there any strong emotions tied to that for you? About the way she died?
Yeah, because it's hard to, so she died doing meth that was cut with fentanyl, and it's just, I can't even wrap my mind around thinking about her buying meth or, opening it up and setting it up to do.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you met your friend?
19.
So you guys have been friends for how long?
I think that's almost 15 years.
Yeah, that is a long time. When you posted on her Facebook, was there a group of people posting, or was it just something that you found yourself you would always post anyway, so you were just posting?
No, I mean, I posted a tribute of her being gone and just shared photos of me and her. I mostly did it because people were constantly texting me telling me that she had died, and I was aware, and I kind of thought maybe if I posted something on Facebook, people would realize that I also knew and they would stop texting me.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the reminders of that she had died were like a little much.
Were they? What would it trigger when they would text you that you said it was a little much?
They just triggered like how much I missed her, or like, you know, I'm well aware that she's gone. Whatever picture would be sent, you know, then I would like reminisce on that photo. One of the photos that was commonly used to text me and other people used on their Facebook was a photo of me and her and about 6 other of our friends. So on my 30th birthday, I had a doctor's appointment, and I came in Norman, and I came out from that doctor's appointment, and she was standing there, and she said, you know, like the famous like Mean Girls line, she was like, "Get in, loser." And she took me to a restaurant, and a bunch of my other friends were at that restaurant, Johnny Carino's, to surprise me for my 30th birthday. And then after that, she had made reservations to the Melting Pot, and so we all went there, and she just had this like huge birthday party for me that she had secretly been planning.
That's awesome.
And so that photo that was taken in the Melting Pot was the main one that like kept popping up on the other people's Facebooks, or what they would send when they would ask me if I knew that she had passed away. And so that's, you know.
Is there an emotion tied to seeing that picture that you can put into words?
Yeah, she was, I mean, it's just like a reminder of like how a good of a friend she was. She also, like, I can't deny that she's probably the reason why I'm in my master's program. So when I was going to start it, when I was thinking about going back to school to get my bachelor's degree, she came. I decided not to go to the open house enrollment thing. I like chickened out, but she showed up in my house and took me and drove me all the way to Mid-America, and we got the certificate, and she walked around and talked to all the people, and she was like, just, you know, she was like, they're all here to help you, like, you're gonna do such a great job. And then after that, Grammarly and like other things like that didn't exist back then, and she checked my papers for spelling mistakes for 4 years.
Sounds like she was a really good friend.
Yeah.
And you guys went through a lot together. So, especially, it seems like the way that she died, you said that early on today when we were talking, that kind of you guys took a vow not to do, you know, how your parents.
Right. We were going to be different. And there's a part of me that struggles with like, how much longer do I have? Is that going to happen to me? Am I going to end up the same way? If she couldn't make it, what's chance do I have of making it?
Was she the strength in the relationship?
I don't know that I would say that. I just feel like it's crazy that she wasn't living here at the time. She was in Colorado. And so.
Were you the stronger one when it came to that in the relationship? When it came to vowing never to do drugs?
Yeah, I think I was.
So do you ever answer that question for yourself about how long do you have until it's you? What would you tell yourself?
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't do drugs, so I would assume that I have a higher chance of it not happening, but I don't know when she went from not doing drugs to doing meth.
Do you know what triggered her to do it?
I don't know. That's the hard part. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that. I never will.
If you had another friend, you know, that you were talking to that said, what's the chances of me not doing drugs if so-and-so couldn't do it, what would you tell them? Knowing that they don't do drugs and that.
I would assume the chances are pretty high that they're not going to just randomly do meth, but I also feel like that's what happened with Taylor, but I also can't prove that because I do think to myself, like I did think if I was doing meth, would I tell anybody? Probably not. That's probably why I shouldn't tell me.
Yeah. Okay.
I would assume there'd be a lot of shame.
Have you been able to accept the loss, or do you find yourself in denial?
I think I know that, yeah, like there's acceptance that she's gone, but I don't have acceptance that I couldn't have prevented that.
Talk to me about that. About being able to prevent it.
I just feel like had I known, like had I had more information, had I don't know, I should have been able to help her. I know that's not realistic, but like that's how I feel. I know that like everybody goes through that of like bargaining with like if I could have just done this, things would have been different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If she would have reached out to you, what would you have said? What would you have done?
I don't know. Gotten on a plane and flew to Colorado, I guess.
Let it out. You don't have to keep it all bottled up.
I'm good.
No, it is tough. I can't say that I've ever been in your shoes, so I can't say that I understand, but I can tell that it hurts. Yeah. So do you have any social support that you've been working through or working with?
I do, yeah. My friends and my husband. One of my friends at work, Ashley, she wrote me a really sweet letter, and that was very helpful.
How'd it help?
She said that she went through the same thing, except for it was like a ex-stepbrother that they had. Their parents married each other, and their parents did drugs, and they didn't want to be like that. But then he died the exact same way as Taylor died, and she said that it left her with a lot of guilt and a lot of shock. The same.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's like when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's how I feel. It was like I'm just shocked, you know.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions?
Yeah, I have a ton of unanswered questions.
Do you ever try to process through them to figure out if you can take those unanswered questions and maybe give them an answer?
No. I just think about them while I'm trying to sleep, and then I don't sleep.
Do you ever write them down?
No.
What are some, if you don't mind, I mean, if it's too hard for you, you don't have to share, but just curious what some of those, because earlier you said that you're having problems with sleep, and I know that that's affecting you a great deal.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand more so what is on your mind when you're trying to sleep. But if you don't feel like answering if it's too much, don't.
I think some of my questions are obviously just like, when did we go from like not doing drugs to like super hard drugs? You know, like that's definitely a question that just weighs on me. Before she left to go to Colorado for like a year, she was begging for me to get a tattoo with her, and I never did. And so I would just always ask myself why I didn't do it. I was just too busy, I guess.
Was there significance to the tattoo that she?
Yeah, she
said?
wanted me to write in my handwriting, "You keep me safe." She was going to get that tattooed onto her. And she wanted to write in her handwriting, "You keep me wild." And I would get that. Because that's how our friendship was.
Yeah. You guys, seems like you each had the others back in the area that, like, she keeps
Right.
you wild.
I probably wouldn't have done anything for my 30th birthday had she not showed up.
Yeah. She sounds like she was a great friend.
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting that tattoo now?
No, I don't want it. Doesn't seem the same. She's not here to write it out.
couple other questions I kind of jotted down that I'm just curious. Once again, if this kind of digs up too many emotions, just let me know.
Okay.
But how did you hear about the news?
Her ex-husband called me on Easter.
And then how did you respond to that news?
Numb. I said, okay, thank you.
Did you have a relationship with him?
No, not really.
So it's kind of weird.
His family is kind of conservative Christians, and I'm an ordained minister, and they didn't believe in women. Like, their denomination doesn't believe in women in ministry.
Mhm.
So they weren't big fans of me and Taylor's friendship. But he was nice enough to call me. He said he didn't want me to find out on social media.
That is kind of nice, I guess.
Yeah, so it was nice. Like he, you know, like there wasn't like, they weren't hateful, but it was just kind of like, they did flat out tell me one time they did not approve of my lifestyle of being an ordained minister. But he told me that he knew that she looked up to me, and that some of the decisions that she had went back to school and she became a scrub tech, and he was like, she probably wouldn't have done that had we not been friends.
That's awesome.
Because that's how she, you know,
Yeah.
I guess that's how she talked about me to him. So
So you said you felt numb when you got the news. Do you still use that word, or do you feel like you've moved on from the numb?
no, I've moved on from now it's just painful.
Tell me more about that.
I think it's painful because I've suffered a lot of loss in my life, but I don't know that I've suffered loss from a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
So it's just, I'm sure it's like normal pain, but I'm not for sure that I've ever experienced normal, healthy sadness from my death.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this is like the first person that has died in my life.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's any, or what does normal look like to you? I'm just curious.
Well, my mom died when I was 5, but she didn't really spend a lot of time with me, so I didn't know her. So I didn't have a relationship. But I was very close to Taylor, so I had a relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I miss her.
That probably, I'd like to say that it's gonna get, that you won't have that, but it's always gonna be there.
Mm.
Yeah. What do you feel challenged you the most this week with her loss?
I don't know, it's like the same things, you know, like, I just can't share anything that's happening in my life.
What do you mean?
Like, I can't text her and be like, hey, this is happening, like,
Yeah.
you know, and in class, like, I was always, like, keeping her updated with what was happening.
Was there ever a time in your guys' friendship where you went months without talking?
Yeah.
And when times, if you can remember any of them, when times came up where you weren't talking but you couldn't share anything, what was the release of that if you want to talk to her? Can you remember anything like that?
I think the time we just weren't talking was just, we were busy, and when we did talk, it was like we never skipped a beat.
Got it. One thing that might come in handy, or might help, maybe not handy isn't the right word, but might help is maybe write to her. I know. It might feel odd. Is that the first thing that comes to mind, feeling odd writing to her with her being gone?
Yeah, that's odd. Someone else told me that I should, like, try to talk to her. So I have gotten that advice.
Have you? What kept you from doing it?
It feels odd,
Yeah.
weird, like, what's the point?
I saw that, like, initially when I asked you that, I could kind of see that a little bit, that your facial expression changed, so I kind of put those words out there, the odd, I should have let you put them yourself, but but possibly writing in a journal. Have you ever written in a journal in your life, like when you were younger? A diary?
No.
Never?
I'm dyslexic. It's not ideal
Oh,
to
I'm
like
sorry.
write things
Okay.
down.
So you got it. I'm sorry. Okay, so that might not work. I don't know. So writing might not be up your alley if you don't like to write, but what about drawing a picture? Or
I'm sure I could try some of those things, but
the only reason I'm saying that is because she's gone, but she's not forgotten, obviously. You know, you haven't forgot her, and you're never going to forget her. What do you want to say? Kind of looked like you were going to say something.
when you say like she's not forgotten, like, have you ever seen that movie Charlie St. Cloud with Zac Efron? His brother dies and like, but he can still see him, and he goes and plays baseball with him like every night. But then he meets a girl, and the more time he spends with her, the part of his little brother's like image, like his spirit like starts fading, and that's kind of what it feels like. It's like if I don't keep up like thinking about it all the time, then it will fade. So it's just interesting that you said that she's not forgotten.
Do you think maybe the pain part will fade, but not necessarily the memory?
Yeah, I think so, but I feel like it's going to be a long time before the memory is able to be looked at as a memory and not as a painful memory.
So, sticking with that, I mean, painful memory part, and then you're not getting sleep. Is it? Talk to me a little bit more about the sleep and what you're thinking about when you can't sleep.
I don't necessarily know if I can pinpoint what I don't think about. It's just like I feel all this anxiety and like I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint, but
Is it anything like that movie you were just saying with Zac Efron, where every weekend he'd go and play ball, and he'd think about the images? Is that not what when you're laying in bed, just thinking your brain reeling? Are you not thinking of thoughts
no, I'm not. I don't know.
or memories?
I think that I just feel like a shitty friend. Like it's just hard not to like understand why I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But
Distance, maybe.
her moving, like the more I think about it, sometimes I'm like maybe like her up and moving to Colorado was probably a sign that she was already doing drugs. She was making all these irrational. She left her husband. And then I know that there's like, I've had other friends tell me like, because I'm an ordained minister, sometimes that like sets me on some kind of pedestal and people don't feel like they can tell me things because they think I'm gonna be disappointed. But she probably knew I would be disappointed just because we vowed not to end up like our parents.
Yeah. Do you think that she's trying to protect you in a way up and moving, or do you think she wasn't thinking about you at all?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't, just going off of what you told me, I couldn't imagine her saying that you were a crappy friend, like you said. I don't know if you said crappy, but I mean, you just said a few minutes ago when her ex-husband called that she really looked up to you, so I think maybe she's just beating herself up more about calling you feeling guilty, maybe.
But prior to that, I mean, I don't know. She called me about everything. So
Did she stop calling you towards the end about everything? Did she just quit talking?
kinda, she was just texting me and yeah. So she was a scrub tech and she went there and she signed a contract with the hospital, like one of those contracts that really like give you like, you know, $2,000 up front, but you gotta stay for like amount of time. And that was like, she was like, I can't come back to Oklahoma until my contract is up. That was the last thing she said.
So we've talked a little bit about your sleep. You talked about how good of a friend she was. You've talked a little bit about how you felt like not such a good friend. Since, you didn't intervene at all. I don't know if you could have had the opportunity to intervene if a person wouldn't allow you to intervene. But I don't.
I know.
It doesn't matter how many times somebody says that to you, you've got to find a way to realize that you were a good friend to her. But since you were saying that you're struggling with the sleep, what have you tried to help with it?
Well, in the beginning, I did like melatonin. I drank like tea. I did sounds. I listened to like this reading thing that I have, and I talked about it with other people. But eventually, it got so bad that I was like getting nauseous because I hadn't slept. And so, like, I went to the doctor and got a prescription.
And how'd that go for you?
It's working.
Is it? Is it just put you to sleep so you don't have to ruminate about the thoughts, or does it make the thoughts less intrusive?
No, it just knocks me out.
So okay.
So there's a good chance that they'll still be there when I stop taking the medication.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that.
But it got just to the point where like I had to do something or I wasn't going to be able to function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one thing that I would like to see you do a little bit, I know the medication's helping you sleep, so you're not struggling with it, but that, like you said, it might still be there. If you stop taking that medication, it might still be there. But trying to find healthy releases. Don't, keep it locked up.
Yeah, I plan to go to the running store with my friend to get new shoes, and I'm going to try to start running again to help. I used to love running, so.
Yeah? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I used to run all the time, and I had to have surgery a while back, and I hadn't been able to run since. Speaking of Taylor Swift, I screamed so loud at her concert, I created a hernia, and I had to have surgery.
And you're not a Swiftie.
Yeah.
Yet you could scream so loud, you rip your guts out.
That is what happened, and my doctor appreciated that story, so.
Yeah, she put that one on her wall, I'm sure. Here's a first. Okay, so you're gonna start running.
Yeah.
I would like to encourage you to try. I know you're not gonna write, but if there's another form of expression, drawing, sketching, possibly making a scrapbook
Okay.
of you and the friendship. I know that sounds rough, but the reason I'd like for you to do that is just to know that I think it's okay to still, you have the thoughts of wanting to talk to her. Maybe try doing something like getting it down, or make a recording of talking, or just something. And you don't have to save it. You could delete it right away. If you put something on paper, you don't have to save that. I mean, the scrapbook, obviously you're going to save it, but she was such a huge person in your life, and yes, she's gone, but I don't think that you need to forget all of the things that she's brought to you. Just because she's moved on doesn't mean that now all of a sudden you have to get rid of those thoughts all of a sudden. You look like you're struggling a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what are you feeling or thinking?
I think they're good points.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Your expressions kind of say a little something different.
I do think they're good points. Like, they'll just, they're obviously going to be hard to do, and it's easier to say to do them than to get it done. So I'm just thinking in my mind, like, how can I like slowly, you know,
Avoid this.
no, like slowly,
Okay.
like start drawing or something to help process, like talking to her.
Mm-hmm. Was there any crafts that you guys used to like doing, or any releases that you guys used to like having together?
She used to go running with me, even though she hated it.
See, that's a good one too. So running, then that'll kind of be a good release. Maybe think about, you know, some of the happy times, maybe not so happy times. I mean, all of it. I mean, think about it. But I think the more you can get it from up here, out,
As an expression, yeah, I get it.
then it's gonna help you work through some of that stuff versus bottling it up.
I'm pretty good at bottling it up. Other than not sleeping. That's kind of a side effect.
But it's gonna burst the lid off eventually, and it sounds to me like it might be when you're sleeping doing that.
Right.
So unless you plan to take that medication forever.
I don't, because it has some weird side effects.
So maybe start small. Maybe print off a coloring page. Something, I don't know. In color. I don't know, find something. It doesn't have to be big. It could be really small, but just start small. Trying to process through it.
I do think that would be beneficial. Because I'm just avoiding processing it.
Why do you think you're avoiding
Because
processing?
it hurts. I don't want to have to feel it. I don't like feeling feelings.
Yeah. Nobody, I mean, don't think anybody wakes up going, hey, let me inflict this much pain on myself.
The day of her
Yeah.
funeral, as I was pulling in, I got a phone call from these people at church, and they had softball tickets for like the next day. I'm like, that's perfect.
To
And we
take
go
a
to
ride.
this funeral, and then the next day I'll just be thinking about the softball game the whole time. So the quicker I can not feel the feelings, the better it is. But then they just come back.
Yeah. Maybe just make a thing out of it, whatever you choose to do. Just know that, give yourself an hour,
Yeah.
go sit in a place by yourself. And do whatever thing you pick to do. And do it. Not running, because I don't want you running for an hour straight just starting off. But something, just to process.
Sounds like a good idea.
And let yourself feel pain. Because once you feel that,
I know the longer if I don't allow it to just come naturally, the longer I press it down, the worse it's going to be.
so do you want to feel a little bit of pain or feel an extraordinary amount of pain by suppressing it? Those are your words. No, I'm just kidding. That's what I just heard. Yeah, so.
Okay, I will draw.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that was,
Painful enough.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for listening. 33 minutes.